The biggest risk that you could ever make is not following your dreams. The problem with making that decision is not knowing whether you're making the right decision or not. There's 5 questions that you have to ask yourself, and if you answer these questions honestly and after each one, it encourages you to make the decision. The only move is to move forward because you have one life to live, and if you don't, your hopes and dreams will die in the casket with you. I am someone who made a huge change, huge shift in my life when I was 26 years old. I finished law school, I moved to New York and became a fitness model, completely throwing away the $100,000 that I just spent on a law degree and not pursuing it, telling my parents that that was all a waste of time and money, which it actually wasn't, and I'll get to later in the video. Moved to New York, became a fitness model, learned to become a personal trainer, trained some celebrities, got some confidence doing that, and ended up opening my own gym with my best friend Dan Shrink called The Fort NYC, where we take training seriously and do what works. We train people in 4-person groups on a real program. We basically set everything up as if we were actually trying to get the best result for people rather than start a business, which really served us in a lot of good ways, but it made things very difficult in a lot of other ways because we didn't set things up to be a great business, we just set things up to be a good training effect. But long story short, the decision to give up the legal career, give up the $100,000 that I spent on a legal career, give up all the time that I invested in it, to move to New York City to do a job that I don't even need a high school diploma to do was a major decision. And it was very challenging. But if I had not done that, I would be 43 years old, very out of shape. I would begrudgingly hate my job if I was still in it and I hadn't blown up my life. I knew myself well enough that if I probably stayed in the law, I probably would have sacrificed my own happiness and life, and my subconscious probably would have blown things up and it would have gotten very ugly. So I'm very glad that I didn't do it, and I am blessed to this day to have a business that I absolutely love working on every single day. I get to live in Austin, Texas, and the gyms are in New York City. So I get to work on them remotely. I get to work on the biggest problems of the business. I get to work with my best friends. I get to work with the best people in the world. I get to work with other people that are on this mission with me, that happen to share the same mission of delivering really good training, not just really good training, delivering the best training possible. And we are always coming up with new ways to improve what we do. We love the process of figuring out how to make things better. We stay very focused on ourselves and don't compare ourselves to anyone else. And we just try to deliver a very good service for the people that make up our community, which is an insanely fulfilling life. I could not imagine doing anything that fills me up more, gives me more control over my decisions, gives me more controls over the outcomes of my decisions. So I'm very grateful that I get to do what I do. And I know how easy it would have been to not make that move and to not move to New York and not pursue fitness and kind of give into a life that I didn't really want for myself. So in this video, what I wanted to do is pose 5 questions. These are 5 questions that I asked myself before making this big change. And I think they're 5 questions that if you're feeling like you're in a crossroads and you're not sure whether or not you need to do this, asking yourself these 5 questions, I think if all 5 questions support the decision to make the change, I think it's pretty likely that you probably will. Like I said, it needs to be your decision. Nobody can do it for you. I don't know who you are, and I don't know what your circumstances are. The only person in the world who does is you. Not your parents, not your friends. It's you. If you do not make this change and you play out the course of your life, is there a chance that things could change? Because I think if there is a chance that things could change and the risk of making this jump is very serious, there's a lot of stakeholders, yourself, maybe you have children, maybe you have people that rely on you that you might be putting at risk by making this big decision. Is there a chance that your life could change for the better without this particular risk? Is there a way that it might, that things might happen or circumstances might change, that there's an other way to do it? And I think like if there is, you should consider it. For me, I do not think there is any way to continue for things to change. I honestly don't think that if I had waited any longer that at any point it would have been any easier. The easiest time for me to make that change is when I did. If I waited a day longer, a week longer, a month longer, it would have just gotten harder and harder to make that decision, and honestly less and less likely to happen. So ask yourself, what are the odds, or will anything change if you do not make this big decision? This is probably the most important. Will you survive if you don't make this decision? Now, for me, I wasn't sure if I would. I actually knew myself well enough, and I knew that the risk of falling into a deep depression and feeling helpless and aimless and self-destructive honestly might have been the end of me. The fear that I felt was if I don't make this decision, I may not survive it. Now, I think you need to look at the inverse of this as well, is if you go for this, if you risk it, will you survive it? I mean, would this be the end of you? Would this be the end of someone who depends on you or someone who relies on you? Would you be putting anyone at actual harm's way with their livelihood or their life? The truth is, if you're not putting your life at risk, then you'll be able to go back to the same spot that you were. You'll be able to go back to exactly where you were, and you'll be able to try again, do something different, start anew. But you do have to weigh out if you're actually putting your life in danger. Would the act of actually risking it all, going for it, forcing your back against the wall and forcing yourself to learn what you would need to learn in order for this new thing to be successful, would you gain skills from that? Would you be a better person for it? Because you have to think, even if it didn't work out, as long as you're going to survive it, that if you come back on the other end with better skills, you'll have better opportunities, even if it doesn't work out and you come back to square one, because you'll be a person that has new skills. You'll know things and you will have abilities that you didn't have beforehand. Often I think of, this like sort of ideal standard of the person that I wish I was, the person that I would like to be. And I use it to guide a lot of the decisions that I make, because I'm not exactly the person that I want to be. I want to grow into that. I do not think I've reached my full potential. I feel that I'm very flawed, I make a lot of mistakes, but I also know that I can improve and grow and get better, and my potential is out there, and I can do things to get closer to it. If I can take my decision making out of my own head for a minute and just say, what would the version of myself that I want to be, what would that person do here? What would that decision making be like? How long would he think through it? What would he consider? And what would he do? Would he have the courage that I wish I had? Would he have the confidence that I wish I had? Would he have the conviction, the belief in going for it? Just imagine if you were everything that you wish you were. And, see that person clearly, ask the person what they would do. You have to consider the answer there, because if you're taking it seriously that you're trying to improve and grow and become this, assuming you're not perfect and you've not reached your full potential, assuming you're serious about becoming the person that you want to be, how could you possibly expect to get closer to that without making the same decisions that the person that you want to be would make? this isn't a knock, and I think this is a really, really, really important question that you need to ask yourself, and there's not a right or wrong here. But I think there's a lot of people that are genuinely fulfilled and happy following through the script of kind of what they should do. And I think it makes a lot of sense. The older I get, the more I realize that life is just all dreams and stories. And, you know, take average out of it or extraordinary out of it. If you have a particular dream and you see what it is, and you're living into it, whatever that is, and you're living into it, and you're feeling fulfilled, who the fuck is anybody to tell you to go do anything outside of that? But if you are living what feels like somebody else's life, if there's been a long nagging feeling in your life that you're not on the right track, you're not in line with your destiny, just a feeling of that, and you feel that you were destined for something more, something extraordinary, you don't have to know exactly what that is. And when I say extraordinary, I just mean out of the ordinary, you know, above average, not predictable, not common, uncommon. If you have a feeling that you are destined for more, and you don't think that thinking about it longer is going to maybe make that go away, so maybe you've had this feeling for a really long time, that making a decision to do it wouldn't, you know, put you put your life at risk, that if you don't make the decision, nothing will change, that you would become a better, stronger, more skilled version of yourself just by making the attempt, that it would be the thing that the person you want to be would do, and you wouldn't be happy being the person that you are on track to becoming without making this decision. I would say the odds are stacked in your favor, and the decision is yours to make, but you have a lot of reasons to make that jump, and you have a lot of good reasons to support you doing it. And do not listen to anybody else that thinks that they know what you should do. So I hope if you are thinking about making a big move, I hope you think about it deeply. And I hope you consider all angles of it. And I hope you remember that this life seems temporary as far as we can tell, and it might be your only shot. And that feeling that you might be feeling that things aren't right might only get worse and worse. I like the story that Les Mills tells of imagining your funeral and imagining they're lowering you into the ground, all of the hopes and the dreams and the things that only you could bring into this world and the things that only you could create. They're gonna go down with you. You got one chance and you got one choice. If you've made it this far into the video, there's a good chance that there's something like that for you. Because if you are feeling good, if you're feeling fulfilled, you're not, like, none of this is resonating, it's not even relevant. Keep doing it, you're crushing it. But if you are, I encourage you to ask yourself these questions. I encourage you to seek strength and to strengthen yourself and your decision making. I encourage you to trust your instincts. And I encourage you to trust yourself. You got this. If you enjoyed this video, you're gonna like this one. Kind of going over the same thing, but from a whole different context. I'll see you there.